I just returned home from playing a few medium stakes poker tournaments, and I was surprised, shocked, confused to still see players having humongous mindset leaks. So today, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 mindset leaks that you must avoid if you want to succeed at poker. Understand that mindset matters. You are not a robot who can study away from the table and then show up to the table and play exactly the strategy that you studied away from the table. Wouldn't that be nice if you could just study and then show up and play it perfectly? Anytime your emotions come into play, you may be prone to making mistakes. And emotions can be when you are sad, annoyed, frustrated, angry, or perhaps even when you're super duper happy and elated, or if you are tired or drunk or anything like that. Your feelings and your mindset will impact your play. Now, the best players in the world are typically less susceptible to this because they know how to play poker really well, and they're used to implementing the really good strategy on a regular basis. But as you are worse at poker in general because you haven't studied a ton and you're essentially guessing, and as you are not used to the inevitable swings of the game, your mindset may result in you making all sorts of blunders. If you've ever had a humongous blow up at the poker table, like Mike Matusow, let me know about it in the comment section down below. Click the like and subscribe button while you're down there. Once you realize and fully accept and fully understand that variance exists and that you will experience it regularly, it will hopefully let you have fewer emotions when the inevitable downswings or upswings happen. Mindset leak number 1 you need to avoid is caring about bad beats. So many players, especially in the small and medium stakes games, care if they get bad beat. Usually, they get mad and angry and frustrated and go on tilt, either by playing a little bit too loosely or maybe a lot too loosely. And some people tilt the opposite direction. They play really tight and think, okay, next time I'm going to get it in really good and I don't want to make a mistake. Either way, it's bad. Anytime you deviate from good, strong poker that takes advantage of the mistakes your opponents are making, you are making a mistake and therefore giving equity/money to your opponents. If you get it all in with pocket aces against the Jack 4 offsuit, you will lose 12.46% of the time. Now, that's not a lot, but you will not win 100% of the time. You hear a lot of people say, I should have won. I had aces against Jack 4. Well, no. You should lose 12.46% of the time if you get it all in with aces against Jack 4 before the flop. And that frustrates a lot of people. And I mean, Jack 4s against aces is a pretty good spot for you. Imagine you get it in with queens against ace jack suited. I don't know what the odds are, but you're going to lose something like a third of the time. It happens. A third of the time is a lot. Quite often you'll get it in with queens against ace king. It's 50-50-ish. You're going to lose half the time. A lot of people think, oh, I got queens before the flop. I should have won. No. Stop worrying about what should be and simply make profitable decisions. Also, if you are playing in games where your opponents are loose and splashy and crazy, and you just play good, tight, aggressive poker, you will usually get your money in ahead because they're playing all sorts of garbage and you're playing good cards. So when you do lose, it will be because you got bad beat. So get used to it. It's normal. It's nothing to be mad about. Something that happens in a lot of small stakes games, or games in general, is people model their behavior after their opponents. If you are sitting and playing poker and you see someone get bad beat and they get mad and angry and they go crazy, and then somebody else gets bad beat and they do the same thing, and then somebody else gets bad beat and they do the same thing, you may naturally think, oh, I got bad beat. I should be mad. Just because everybody else gets mad doesn't mean that you have to. Mindset leak number 2 is caring about being card dead. At a full table, you may only want to play something like 20-ish% of the hands that you are dealt. And sometimes you simply won't get all that many of those hands, especially if you don't play sessions that are all that long. And this will result in you sitting around and blinding out. And when you're playing live poker, this can happen for many hours at a time. I play a nice game every once in a while, and the game only lasts 6 hours. And there have been, 3 days out of the last 10 or so where I just didn't get very many good cards. I probably played 8% of hands. My opponents were making fun of me because I'm being overly nitty. I know I'm just getting the Jack 4 offsuit every hand, and I don't like taking the Jack 4 offsuit against anything decent. So what can you do about that? Well, the answer is, assuming you'll get invited back to the game and you'll be able to play as much as you'd like, and you don't need to loosen up for image concerns, just keep playing good, fundamentally sound poker. Now, if your opponents do think you are overly tight, maybe you can sneak a bluff in here and there, and I certainly would put in 3-bet bluffs or, call the big blind and check raise a little bit more often if my opponents are thinking that I'm going to be overly tight and straightforward. But if your opponents are good and they think you're good, they're just going to presume you're card dead, and that's it. They're not going to think all of a sudden you decided to show up and not play any hands, right? They're just going to think you're card dead, and that's okay, right? Whenever I'm playing the high-stakes games in the Poker Go studio, sometimes people who are known to be good, loose, aggressive players sit there and effectively blind out for 2 hours. You may say, how could that happen? They're loose and aggressive, and they like to battle. Yeah, but if they get the Jack 4 offsuit every hand, they just fold and they don't play because you can't profitably play it. And that happens, and it will happen for many hours at a time. So get used to it. Once you realize it's going to happen, it's nothing to be concerned with. Mindset leak number 3 is caring about short-term results. This is something that crushes most players because they don't get to play all that much poker. They think, I'm going to go play poker, I get to play for 6 hours, and I'm going to try to win some money. But in reality, you have little to no control over the results over any sort of short session, or even if you're playing tournaments, any sort of decently long period of time. Many players in cash games hate the idea of being down. I mean, players in general hate being down. But you have to understand that daily results and weekly results do not really matter much at all. You'll find some players who hate leaving the cash game table as a loser. They think, if I leave and I'm down, then that's really bad. I don't want to be a loser. But you got to realize that the last hand of today is just essentially the first hand of the next day. You'll see many players towards the end of a session, if they're up, really tighten up and think, well, I really, really, really don't want to lose my profit. But it doesn't matter. You'll see other players, if they're down 5 or 10 big blinds, they might start playing crazy to try to get even. You have to understand, to make as much money as possible at poker, you simply have to play each spot as well as possible. And sometimes when you make a good play, like running an obvious bluff with the best possible bluffing candidate, and you get called, you're going to lose a pot. And that's okay. Don't get annoyed about it. Don't get frustrated about it. Going back to the idea of some players hate being down, if you play tournaments primarily, you will almost always be down from your peak poker bankroll / net worth. Why is that? Well, whenever you play tournaments, usually you lose. If you're going to cash, let's say 15% of the time, that means 85% of the time you leave the table a loser. And that's okay. So if you look at the graph of every tournament player, their graphs trickle down. They go down, 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 down. And then they get a win. And then they spike. And then you go down, 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 down. And then you get another win and it spikes. So way more often than not, you end up being down if you are a tournament player. And that is okay. Accept it, understand it, get used to it, and don't let it bother you. So these are 3 of many mindset leaks that you must avoid, but these are 3 major ones. To recap, you need to stop caring about bad beats. They are going to happen, especially if you get your money in good more often than not. You also need to stop caring about just getting bad cards. Quite often, you will just get bad cards. Sit there and play good poker. And number 3, stop caring about short-term results. There's a lot of variance in poker, and you better get used to it if you want to have any chance of succeeding. That's it for today. If you enjoyed today's video, click the like and subscribe button down below. If you have a friend who is a mindset fish, send them this video. They'll appreciate it. I'll talk to all of you next time.